grateful that he's come this afternoon to give his presentation, and he goes to senior homes too, Ed?
I do.
Yeah, and he's a retired educator. So on behalf of the Daly House, I'm the VP for the Daly House Board. I welcome you all to an interesting afternoon talk. And without further ado, I will give you Ed James.
Thank you very much, young lady. Now, I'll turn off the band. I'm going to have to slightly apologize. The last time I wore this uniform, it shrank in the closet. It fitted me better, so I don't know what's going on. But be that as it may, it is the uniform of the Royal Canadian Army Postal Corps, World War II. And these were very important gentlemen. Yes, they were all gentlemen. There were no ladies. Mail was important. Mail's always important. Mail's important today, just as it was then. And just to give you an example, in the first Afghanistan war, several of my friends from Shiloh served over there. And yes, we have electronic mail and so forth, and we mailed it over to them. I sent the occasional one. But there was another buddy. He was a sergeant, a gruff old bugger. But I sent him for Halloween a bag of Halloween candy. He loved it. He said it was just something he could hold on to. It wasn't, I mean, I don't know, you've got one of those smart, I don't own one of those, but you've got one of those, I don't know if you want to put that under your pillow at night, but sometimes a letter or a stack of letters from a loved one can be something like that. So having said that, let me tell you a story about why mail was important. We have some facsimiles, and maybe you'll learn a little bit about our history. Now, mail, like I say, whether in time of peace, whether in time of war, is always important, you know. Every day I go down to the post office and hoping there's somebody there. It's getting fewer and fewer, but sometimes I have some luck. When an army is at war, most people say the most important things are beans and bullets. Yep, I agree with you. Beans and bullets are important, but also you can add mail. Why mail? Mail is that link to home. Mail is that a moment of normality that you were in the middle of hell. People are dying, things are going bang and boom and so forth. But when you get this letter, it means something special. All of a sudden you're taken back to this place or that place that's so very special to you. All right? It makes you, you know, stop for a moment all the madness. Sometimes you get a care package, and we're going to talk about some of these care packages. I mean, it's amazing some of the things they would send, and there's no X-rated. I've cleared all that out. Okay, it was important. All right, so they wanted the mail call when it came every day was so important. Actually, it wouldn't be every day. If they were lucky to get it once a week, they would do very, very well. The history of the Canadian Army Mail Corps starts in 1911. They actually started it during World War I because a lot of mail. And it did its job, and it continued after the war. In World War II, though, it changed its attitude. In World War II, the Canadian Army Postal Corps not only was sending mail, but they said, we've got to send other things to make their life happier, if that can be possible. So they started to send things that brought the real world to them and made them a lot happier, i.e. packages and newspapers. We started to print, once we get overseas in England, once we arrived there, the Canadian Army printed its own newspaper. And once we landed in Normandy, we moved the press over to France and we started to print them from France. News is always something the soldiers overseas want to know what's going on. They really, really do. So basically, mail has a high priority, especially if you're wounded. They will track you to the ends of the earth to find out where you are. You get transferred from hospital to hospital or unit to unit. They will track you down. They are very, very dedicated. And I mean, if worst comes to worst, they will, and I'll show you some examples, send it back home if you didn't make it. Now, when mail call comes, basically, everyone just gathers around and hopes, and basically just doesn't, usually your sergeant or your corporal will come out and start throwing them out. Smith, Jones, Brown, right? And you're waiting for it. It's the most depressing thing not to get one. You really want that letter. You really want that connection. All right? one of the things that I found interesting when I was doing some research, as I say, I'm from Ed James. I am Ed James. I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia. We have a Corvette there, the last Corvette, Royal Canadian Navy. And in doing my research, I found something interesting. After a long North Atlantic tour, battles and submarines and so forth, when the ship came back into port, the first person to get off was some naval rating, and his job was to mail up. Pick the mail up, take it right back to the ship, because that was so important. I mean, all right, they got the wounded off, yes, but the mail was that important because it was home, all right? And like I said, they would just bring it on, and quite often when the mail got there, that was a different thing. Guys would read it in different ways. They would have a situation where they would read it quickly, and then over again and again. They would find a quiet place to read it. Not everyone got mail. So consequently, if it wasn't too personal, they would share. All right, let them read about somebody else. Some soldiers lived their lives through the lives of their soldier buddies, because mail was that important. They wanted to hold on to it. They wanted to touch it. You know, that's what they're thinking about all the time. Now, censorship. Mail coming in to soldiers was never censored. Mail going out was always censored, and officers did that. They censored the mail, and strictly officers would do that. And apparently, some of our boys overseas were pretty good at writing very hot letters. I've heard that from a few officers, that some of the stuff could be printed in sort of a Playboy magazine, you know, but still it was a lot of fun for them. Now, who did they get mail from? Well, besides family, there were church groups. There were public service groups, the YMCA. As a matter of fact, the YMCA, the Royal Canadian Legion, and there's one I can't remember right now, they would send over free paper and pencils to encourage you to write. The Army encouraged you to write home, because if you're writing home and you're writing back and forth, you're going to be a happier soldier. It's the soldier who doesn't get any mail that he's in trouble, all right? Soldiers would share their letters, as I say. During the war years, there were a lot of special stamps put out, and all of these stamps reflect what was going on, in that they either had the king at the time, they had some of the military weapons at the time that were being made. They also came up with a lot of stickers to sort of promote patriotism. You can see on this one here, it says, put victory first, buy victory bonds. We got one here that says also, buy war saving stamps. Things like this. Here's another one, they'll always be in England. You saw that a lot of times. These things just brought home front to the soldiers. By the way, quite often in the PX, as we call it, the canteen, they would sell writing kits to soldiers. Here I have one here, and inside would be a piece of paper and pencils, but this is some actual paper, and it says on active service, and this one is from the Canadian Legion, the Knights of Columbus, the YMCA, and the Salvation Army. They would send you paper to write home, you know. Write, they would encourage you to write. Now, the Americans did the same thing, but they got a little bit fancier, and they had colored paper and Star-Spangled Banner and stuff like that, but that's all right. They had more ink than us. But we would encourage you with things like this to write home and tell us about your life. Now, let's see if I can go on here for a bit more. There were special letters. There were special letters that came out. We're going to talk about the special letters. By the way, too, if you didn't notice, these are originals. Look, 1935. My newspaper where I work was throwing these all out. I said, no, I think I want to save these. So this is one I saved, 1935. And the other one is dated 1942. These are original wartime mail bags that had letters for soldiers. Now, When it came to letters, there were all kinds of letters. To make it really short, there were good letters and bad letters. Okay, let's do the bad letters. One of the worst letters that a soldier could get, they actually would, the Army would sort of put public service notices out there. Don't do this. Don't write this letter. Please don't do this. And that letter would be, as we affectionately call it, a Dear John letter. And I just have a facsimile here. And it says, Dear John, I'm sorry, but I found someone else. Here's your ring back. I hope we can be friends. Keep safe, Marg. You know, and she's attached the ring to it. This kind of letter would cause soldiers to go off the deep end. Many of them committed suicide. The Army tried to discourage people from sending letters like that. Not a good idea when you're far from home. Now, another one that you wouldn't want to get is the military post office would finally track you down and stamp it return KIA, which stands for killed in action. That individual didn't make it back. Later on, his kit and his personal belongings will be sent back to you, a letter of condolence from the government and from the king and queen, etc., etc. But that's a letter you didn't want to get either. Basically, we regret to inform you that your son, your daughter, they were quite specific in the contents that they would make. Now, one that they would like to get, this could go either way. One that they would like to get is perfume. Love to get a letter of perfume. But it was even better if they got one like this. Which back in the old days, sealed with a kiss. Ooh. So this guy would probably go somewhere very quiet and love this letter, probably put it on his pillow at night. But at Christmas time, those were so very important too. And they would try to deck the letters up with a little bit of color and ink. And in the back of these letters here, you know, peace in 45, peace in 44, and so forth, you know, trying to bring a little bit of cheer. Now, the church would send letters and prayers. The YMCA would send you stuff. Friends and families would send you stuff. There was another group, though, that were doing their best to help the boys overseas. Hollywood, all right? And the Hollywoods would do things like this. I've got a couple here. No, it's not X-rated. This one is from MGM Studios, Box 1000, Hollywood, California. And it's to a soldier. And let's see what they would send. What would they send that soldier? Well, things like this. Pin-up pictures from the period. This was pretty hot stuff back in 1944, 43, 45. So I have those, but I have a couple of other ones I want to show you that are from the same group, but one of them is exceptionally special. All right, I'll put that there. Let's see what's in this one. You might recognize some of these stars. I do believe that's Yvonne DiCarlo. I'm pretty sure that's, she did a lot of cowboy movies. I can't think of it now, but there you go. Okay. Barbara Stanwyck. That's Barbara Stanwyck. I remember that, right. All right, now let's see what else you would get from Hollywood. I don't know if guys ever sent pictures of themselves, but maybe. All right. And here we have, oh yes, gonna have to help me, but I'm pretty sure Rita Hayward. You know, lovely Rita Hayward. And I'm having another senior moment here. Anyone remember who this one was? This famous Hollywood star. Can't remember her name. Susan, I think, but I'm not sure. But those aren't the big prizes. Here's the big prize. Every soldier, sailor, airman would love to get this picture. This was the most popular requested picture. And it was, any guesses? Any guesses? You got it. Betty Grable. Did you Davis or Betty Grable? Yes. Oh. Betty Grable. And what did they say? Her $1 million legs. Betty Grable, very, very, very popular. And equally popular, pardon me, was Veronica Lake. Apparently, she was very, very, very popular also. So if a soldier had that, he would have it in his kit bag or in his barrack box, and, well, reminded him of home. Maybe not mother and apple pie, but it reminded him of home.
What was the postage on that, Ed?
Postage on this one, back in the day, this is the United States postage, we got a total of 6 cents. 6 cents, pretty cheap. By the way, a sailor, our Canadian forces overseas sending mail home, mail was free. All right, it was free, you didn't have to pay for it. Going the other way, you did. Now, having said that, let's see where I want to move on next. I want to open up some packages, and what would you send these guys and girls over there? And there were guys and girls, both sides, who were killed. A month, that's true. And you say cookies. Well, my God, it would be as hard as the hinges of hell by the time I got there. Not necessarily. I mean, unless, there was one more bad letter, and those were the letters at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Unfortunately, convoys were carrying mail, they would get sunk, and they would say, our mail is sleeping in the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. But as for cookies and things like that, on average, a letter from Canada could get overseas in 2 weeks. So cookies did arrive. All right. Right, these would be homemade cookies. All right, so let's see what we got in this one here. We got some stabs with the king and everything else. It's going to a flying officer, and he's based somewhere in England. Now, what I got to remember is not to mix these up, because I'll never get them back together again. But what would you want over there? Or what you got to realize is that if you're in the middle of a battlefield, there's certainly not a Lawtons around to go get a toothbrush. There's no Lawtons, things like that. I mean, and it's the small things that matter. We got bullets, we got beans and toilet paper, but what are some of the small things? The Canadian government during the war put out a number of brochures for ladies at home on how to knit stuff, but to military standards. All right, never mind this fancy stitching. We want regular stitching or whatever. And one of the things they did was how to make gloves, but special gloves, because gloves are always in short supply. Gloves are always wearing out. And can anyone tell me why these gloves are special? It has a trigger finger. It has a one weird finger in the middle. That's a trigger finger. So basically, when you had it on, your hands would keep warm, but if you had to shoot something, you had that one finger. And there was a pattern that they sent out how to make these. And they would suggest the wool, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you get all kinds of things sent in here. I mean, some people would send Bibles or missiles. I got one here, tooth powder. It's not easy in the middle of the battle. Where can I get a tube of tooth powder at? There's none.
One at our house when I was a kid for...
There you go, and now they're hard to find. And, well, this is going to a flying officer. Yeah, this is going to a pilot. So he's got his Brill cream, because you know about the Brill cream, boys. Those Air Force guys, they like their hair slicked back. So he's got his Brill cream there. Now, remember these? They've sent him a package of lifesavers. These come in the rolls. All right. Now, it was very hard to get overseas, so they would also send rolls of film for him to shoot. But I got some other things here. We got a package of double mint, some chiclets, all of those things, which were you going to get in the battle? Handkerchiefs. Handkerchiefs were always popular. All right. Now, the government and the printing industry got together, and they printed special size and special versions of pocket novels and books for the soldiers that you could send by mail. That didn't take up a lot of room, because in the military, it's hurry up and wait, if you've ever been in the military, And you've got time to do things other than shoot your gun. So they made these smaller size novels to fill out the bags for them. Now, this guy hit the jackpot. Somebody knit him a sweater, a beautiful cable knit sweater. Now, the sweater is correct. The color is wrong. This would not be red. It would be gray or green because, no, you don't want to be running around the battlefield with a bright red sweater. Not a good idea. But they would make sweaters like this. And I mean, you know, this is an antique sweater, but besides the point, it's lifted. Sorry, it's not light polyester. It's a good heavy, which is what you want when you're out there. There's no central heating. You know, those things are important. And you got a note in the bottom, love, Mother. Well, let's see what Mother sent in the envelope. Yeah, here we go. We're not, I don't know, maybe I can show these to you. But love, Mother. Okay, so we've got, well, the heck with that. I don't think you people are going to steal these, so I'm not particularly worried about it. But they would send pictures of the family and everyday pictures of what they were doing at home, you know, because I want to know what's going on at home. Do we still have my pet dog? Is the horse still there? Is he still driving this car, et cetera, et cetera? So they would have things like that, pictures. And all of this meant so much to the guy who got it. I mean, he would share this. There's one coming up, I'm going to talk about sharing, but he would share this stuff because it meant so much to him, and there were those who didn't have any of this. I mean, you maybe have been someplace or seen something where everyone in the room got something, except you. And, you know, this is a long face. Why didn't that person get? So, you know, you're not fighting for your country. No, that's just a myth. You're fighting for the guy next to you on either side to both keep yourselves alive. So you share with each other, you know, the things that you have out there. So that's that flying officer. He's got his Brill cream. He's going to be so cool, you know. Now, let's see. I've got certain ones I'm not opening up because they're nothing but a block of wood. But some of them aren't. By the way, too, writing as it used to be, script. Isn't that nice? I ended my career. I'm often wondering, since they don't teach cursive writing, how are the kids going to sign their paychecks nowadays? I think we're going to go back to the X. You know, that's what we're going to do. But just look at the beautiful writing, you know. Just, I don't write that well, but this is beautiful. Now, this guy, he's in the Navy. Let's see what this guy's going to get. We'll open it up. And he's in St. John's, Newfoundland. Oh, a lovely place to be. All right. Some of it's going to be repetitious, but that's what there was. Again, he's got a handkerchief. Oh, this guy's going to love it. He's got a flat 50 of cigarettes. Now, the Army cigarettes, by the way, the whole thing about cigarettes in the military, if you don't know, the Army encouraged, the military, encouraged smoking. Why? Smoking is an appetite suppressant. When you're smoking, you're not hungry. So they were giving out cigarettes like crazy. That's why they were so hooked on cigarettes. Some of the brands they gave out were, you know, mystery cigarettes, but if you had someone at home that really loved you, maybe they might send you a package of, you know, quality cigarettes. All right? Now, this guy's got some more chiclets. Oh, this is Juicy Fruit. And Lifesavers. And let's see what else he's got in here. Yeah, a scarf. It's a little thing. Once you've been into a Manitoba winter when it's 30 below zero, you'll love that scarf. You really, really will. Again, just mitts. What was this one? Oh, yeah. I actually saw the government publication, how to make these. What am I going to call these? Let's call them a dickie or whatever, but I think you put over to make your neck warm and so forth. This guy was Chief Petty Officer, and they sent him, here's an RCAF writing kit. And I mean, basically inside you've got pencil and pen, and let's see, letters, well, not letters, well, anyways, paper that they would put out to encourage you to write home. And as always, these ones are a little bit bigger. I mean, this is what they remember from home. You know, pictures like that. To somebody far away, and especially if this was his child, that would mean a hell of a lot. Or, you know, something like this, the whole, look at the clothes, all the family and so forth, you know. This is what it was like. And then maybe back on the home front, you know, one of the members hooked up with a soldier and they had this nice formal picture taken of them in the kilt. And then basically we just, what I like about this picture, the way the kids are dressed and the way the parents are hanging on to them, but the house in the background. It's somebody's farmhouse. It's somebody's farmhouse that, you know, you may have seen farmhouses like this. You know, this is real. I can say that was my bedroom, and I miss it. You know, things like that. All right, let's see what else we can find in our package. Well, take this little small guy. This is going to a Private Jones, and he's in France with the Royal Canadian Artillery. Well, you'll notice no bubble wrap, just brown paper. Oh, this guy again has got mitts, or gloves. You can say, never have enough gloves. And somebody has sent him a camera to take pictures. Now, that's a gray area. They weren't allowed to take it, weren't supposed to, but it happened, okay? And they even sent him a roll of film, some more handkerchiefs. This is just a small one. Another New Testament and so forth. Just small little gifts to make their life better. Now, so far, I haven't found the ones with the big prizes in it, but I'll work my way through here. And we'll find the ones that are really kind of getting interesting. Let's see. Let's take a big one. Let's take this one here. This is going to a staff sergeant and Canadian Expeditionary Forces. Well, I'm not sure where he is. But it's from, I like this, it's from the Dominion of Canada. We don't use that expression anymore, but we used to. We used to use the Dominion of Canada. All right. This one's getting better. All right. So he's got Captain's Courageous. Again, one of those small little pocket books. And when I turn inside, you know, I have a situation, a picture, a greetings, family. It's just small stuff. You don't have to send them gold coins. That's as much as gold. Now, let's see what else this guy. This guy did well. He got shaving cream and a brush. Again, you can't buy it on the battlefield. You know, you need stuff like that. I mean, soldiers in the field, if they've been on an exercise or on a mission and so forth, and they've got a 4 or 5 day growth, they don't particularly want to keep it. They want to shave it off. They would often send decks of cards. A lot of downtime. Like I said, the military, hurry up and wait. We have foot powder. Foot powder was always good because your feet were always wet. Now, again, just a really small thing. Shoelaces. Shoelaces on your boots are always breaking. So a couple of pairs of shoelaces. And, you know, I'll go to the quartermaster. Quartermaster 9 times out of 10 is not going to have it. You know, you're out of luck. So there we go. Now, I told you he got the shaving brush and the soap. And this guy he's a very brave individual, a traditional razor, you know. Only once have I ever had one of these used on me, and never again. If you know what you're doing, yes, but no, I'll stick to the safety razor. But that's what they did back in the day. He got himself a Victory toothbrush. All right. He got himself this is classic Army gray socks. He got a toque. This guy hit the gold mine. He's got a scarf. He's got more gloves, and he's got socks. This guy has the jackpot. He is going to be a very happy, warm, comfortable soldier. Now, again, yeah, not the right color. But on the other hand, if his girlfriend made it for her, sometimes it would be a colorful thing to have. That this was made by your sweetie who's waiting for you at home. So, you know, live with it. but some people, yeah. All right, foot powder, yeah, I know what that's like. How many times have I had wet feet? And of course, you had to be careful. In World War I, they had trench foot. Wasn't as bad in World War II, but keeping dry was important. All right, that one was the winner so far. Let's see. I'm not going to open all of them up, but just a few. This one I don't have to fight with. This one's going to somebody in Holland. Oh, okay. In the Halifax Rifles, my old regiment. He's got, again, a little mini Bible. Oops, a daisy. Some socks. He got a shaving brush. He's got some lifesavers. This would often happen. Mothers would send a string of prayer beads. You guys all know what prayer beads are. They're gone the way of the dodo bird, but coming from a Catholic education system, we saw a lot of those. And in this case, we have some very hard cookies. But there is a box of cookies in there. I don't know, but pretty rough stuff. But it doesn't matter how hard they are. They're still going to love them. In fact, it still might even beat Army food, having ate a lot of Army food. So there you go. Bible, and like I said, soldiers would have a habit, those who had religious beliefs and so, wear them around their neck under their uniform and so forth. You know, it happened. It's kind of like today magic charms. I mean, it's not going to hurt. Yeah, what the hell? I'll wear it around my neck. Let's see here. Yeah, this could be one too. All right, this is going to a private miller with a PPCLI. All right. Okay, there we go. Again, I hope you're not bored, but again, we have mitts. Okay. We have, come on, one of his friends perhaps who got married. So there's a picture from the paper. All right, we got some real toothpaste. We've got some lifesavers, and this is a very heavy version of a Bible, but some guys would like it. And there are numerous reports about Bibles being stuck in pocket jackets that save people's lives. They've actually took bullets in, as did letters. Soldiers quite often, when they got their letters, they were so important to them, they usually tie them up with a piece of string and put them in their pocket. And there have been recorded instances where the bullet has stopped because of the letters. And conversely, at home, on the home front, wives, daughters, girlfriends, and so forth would also keep the letters wrapped up. And we'll talk more about that later. So, let's see. And like I said, none of this stuff is polyester. It's all real wool. You know. All right. We'll go for another big one here. Where's this one going? It's going to Glasgow, Scotland. Oh, lovely city. Now, oh, I like the sticker on the side of this one. This one's famous. Hang on a second there. Love that butcher block cord. Hard to find nowadays. Remember that expression? Yeah, that used to be something they would said. Keep quiet. You might know stuff, and there are always walls listening. Here we go. All right. What's he got? Oh, here we go. Well, another set of prayer beads. Nothing wrong with that. It's amazing how many soldiers in times of crisis and conflict will get religion. I've discovered that personally. All of a sudden, when things get bad, oh Lord, please help me. Well, he's got his prayer beads. This guy's got mitts, toque, and a matching scarf. This guy has hit the home front. He is doing very, very well. All right. He got a flat 50 of players. Good ones, you know, factory made. Yeah, there you go. These cans, by the way, were very, very useful for putting letters in and putting it in your pocket or keeping your papers dry. All right, now, yeah, he's got foot powder. He's got, this guy's got something a little bit different. Look at that. He's got a safety razor. This would have been expensive, but Gillette, blue, and a safety razor. He has in there, I can see a deck of cards. He's got some fine cut tobacco also. Maybe he rolls his own. Toothbrush, comb, Vicks Vapor Rub. Where can you buy that? In the middle of a battlefield. You can't. Toothbrush, oh yeah, like I say, he's got the shaving soap. Deck of cards, and he's got something up here too. Here we go. Yeah. Some more family pictures. Oh yeah, there's a good one. Yeah, just pass this batch around and you can see the kind of stuff they like to see from home. Look how big Susie has grown, or how old Frank has got, or how big Grandma's got, or whatever. Things like this. It made the experience better for the mail. Now, well, that's just going around. Just some big. I'm not going to bore you anymore, but no, we got socks. We got more candy in here, more brushes. Okay, well. Oh, there's that one. Grandpa out at the farm, telling them how the crops are doing. These are real people. These are real pictures. They're not studio pictures. They're out there in the field. And I don't know, this might be a glamour pose. I'm not quite sure if she's happy or not. But, when are you coming home? But let's see now. I think I have one more, and then I'm going to stop and bring this to an end. Where's this one going? This one's going to Lieutenant Cruz. I think I remember Lieutenant Cruz. Let's see what we've got here. And then again, I could be, oh, there it is, opens this in. What did Lieutenant Cruz get? Well, again, he got another, oh, this is interesting, a copy of the Testament in French. We have, now these are nice green mittens. We have a nice green toque. Oh, I think he got a whole package too, another green mitten. And what have we got here? Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. He's got toothbrush. He's got gum. He's got a comb. Oh, he got lucky also. He got Flat 50 and Black Cat. These are all brands that gone. Again, the smaller pocket-sized books, for reading. Something went down there, but I'll worry about it later. The combs. No, that's about it. Now,
soldiers ask for that kind of stuff, or was just sent?
They would ask for it. And then sometimes it was just because they knew it was in short supply. It was at the home front also, too. Okay, I've showed you a lot of stuff. You've looked at some of the pictures and so forth. Let's wind this up, and I'll tell you what happens. So, not everyone came home from the war. That's the nature of war. But the letters got home. So every Remembrance Day, let me find it here. I've misplaced it. Every Remembrance Day, here we go. We wear a poppy. We wear a poppy to remember. Well, for a lot of families who didn't come back, those letters are like poppies. It's their way of remembering, of holding on to that last thing the individual might have done, and they become very, very important. Periodically, a batch will show up somebody's cleaning out a house or they've gone to an auction or something, and these letters will come home, and they're filled with the most amazing things about not so much military matters. Yeah, we're in France, we're in Germany, we're here, but what he's experiencing every day, or she's experienced too, I might add. What is out there that is important to them, but equally what's important at home, what's going on at home. I just recently came back from 5 weeks on the road, and since I don't really use a computer that much and I don't have a cell phone, I really miss the Brandon Sun. I know that's hard to take, but I miss the Brandon Sun. What news is going on? Well, I knew eventually I would get back to here, but when you're over there, you don't have those things. So, I mean, when you get a paper, and even if it's a paper from home, remember, at worst, the paper could be a month late. That's okay. I want to know a month late what's happening, well, I'm from Elkhorn or Boys of Vain or Hargrave, And the military newspaper, like I said, they, this particular one here that was sent out, enemy shells Vancouver Island. That was a historic fact. Japanese sub came up and shot a few rounds on a lighthouse on Vancouver Island during the war. So that would give them some news. Permits needed now for job changes. Sugar rationing is coming in more. Gasoline rations are coming around again. They wanted to know all about this stuff. So I think I'm having a coffee fit coming on, but let's see what I can do. As you think about today's presentation, if you have time later on, remember that mail is important, even still today. You can't put an email under your pillow. I just came back up from away again, and I said to my friend who were traveling, let's do this. She said, okay, let's do that. I said, let's send some postcards. Okay. First of all, it was a bugger of a job trying to find postcards. Just nobody sells them anymore. So we went to this one shop and we bought every postcard they had. We sent home 12 postcards. Excuse me, I've got a cough problem. We found 12 postcards, filled them all in. As a matter of fact, I had my friend write them. She's a very tiny script. I'm a big writer. So we sent them home. And so far, I've been talking to several of the people that we sent them to. They said, this is unbelievable. I haven't seen one of these before. Or this is a lost art. It's so nice to see this, to see that, and so forth. It means something. The mail is an important link to the past, to the present, to what's going on. And we often tend to forget, for those soldiers overseas, that was so important. There's no cell phone service, there's no telegraph in the field. You have to stick to letters and so forth, and that's what they did. And that's why it was so important for us to send mail over. We would ask them to send mail all the time, to try to keep it positive, to keep it light, not to send this kind of mail. In return, the censors would not want bad news to go back. So that was part of the process too. The mail is a pipeline to reality. You're in a situation of people being blown up and killed every day and miserable things, and that's just the soldiers. The civilians are another whole issue. The mail gives you a sense of normality, what's at home, and that's what's important to you. I want to go back home. I want to get out of this place, and that mail will keep your spirits up. It's not going to guarantee to keep you alive, but it will keep your spirits up, and that's what you need, So those magazines from the Red Cross or from the Knights of Columbus and so forth, those care packages, they're so important. And we just don't seem to realize today in our modern electronic society. So, having said that, and slightly choking, I thank you for coming today. And if you have any questions, I will try to answer them. I will tell you right off the top, I was not in World War I or World War II. I just looked this way from teaching high school students. They wear you out. The grade 12 students especially, they knew everything, and I have no idea why you even bothered, but that's what I have. So thank you for coming out, and if you have any questions, I'll be hanging around for a while. There you go.
I've got a question.
Question, ma'am.
I read a book. It was called The Fog of War.
Yes.
Censorship in Canada, World War II.
Yep.
So I'm wondering how much did the censor in those military newspapers go back to the soldiers? Like, they wouldn't want them knowing that
Nope.
a whole battalion or whatever got decimated.
One of the axioms of war, the first casualty of war is, and we remember, what was that?
The truth.
Truth. First casualty of war is truth. In times of war, you lie. You lie, you want to say, for the greater good. You know, there's a terrible accident down the road, and it's from one of your neighbors, and what do you know? I don't know anything about it just yet. I'm just going to tell you lies until I find out for sure what's going on. And the military was notorious for that, and it makes sense. Why? I mean, you've had, I'm sure, situations here in town where something has happened in town, and my God, by the time the story gets around, there's 10 people dead and blood and guts on the wall and ceiling. No, it didn't. Somebody fell off the sidewalk and skinned their knee. It's that simple. But in times of war, we do that. And you have to. You have to. You can't let rumors run rampant. As a matter of fact, the military and security services and so forth, they often plant misinformation just to fool the bad guys and also just to keep people happy. At the end of the war, we'll say it was all a big lie or a big truth, but we did it for your own best good. Anything else? Feel free to. I'm going to be here for another, I don't know how long, but we do.
During World War II,
Yes, sir.
like with the men that were in the field in battle, what kind of system was it for the male
Okay.
to be gathered for one regiment?
You betcha. Okay.
Somehow find that regiment.
They would. They were notorious. By the way, too, just before I answer that question, after the war, many of the people who were in the Royal Canadian Army Postal Corps became postmen. I knew several. But what they would do is that it would be sent to central sorting in Ottawa. They had a depot there. And then it would be sent out to the individual, they would pick it out to the individual regiments. So this stuff's all going to Europe. This stuff's all going to Southeast Asia. This stuff's going to, we had troops on station in the Caribbean, sorted out by continent. And then by there, they sub-sort it down, and they know where the regiments are, so they get sent by there. Now, often it was sent by ship, but things got so busy sometimes, the Air Force had to jump in. And it was called the RCAF mail can. And they would start to pick up so much of the backlog to take it over to the individuals. Now, they're only going to take it over to those troops that are sort of rare, in the rear and safe. Frontline troops, they would just hold it until such time. But basically, they know, it's hard to believe this, but they do know where every regiment is. And because of the universal serial numbers that each soldier had on their dog tag, mine's in there somewhere, it's easy to track them down. And this is before computers. This is before computers. And if you were wounded and sent to a hospital, so they send them to your regiment would know right away, send that back to hospital, send that back to the hospital, repurpose mail, and it would eventually track you down. They were notorious for tracking down wounded people if you got hit. So that they knew the mail was that important. It really was.
So what if somebody was like killed in action? Wouldn't they hold that mail back till the family got the stolen slipper?
Yes. They would get a telegram first. That letter, it would not get back for a while, but they would get a telegram first. And that's an interesting story too. CP and CN used to have a telegraph service in a lot of cities, and the guys used to drive bicycles and had a gray wool uniform. And if you got a knock on the door and saw a guy with a CP, CN uniform, telegraph boy there, you would worry. Wasn't always necessarily bad, but if he was wounded, they would tell you, or if he was dead, they would tell you. That would be the immediate response. And then shortly after that, you would get a letter from the government, from the Prime Minister, from the King at the time, saying, "We're sorry for your loss." But no, it wouldn't get back that fast. But that would create even another interesting situation. So there's the last letter I wrote to Johnny. So that becomes part of your special bundle, to remember him who's not coming back. Him and her. I keep forgetting hers, but there are a lot of hers who didn't come back. Anything else?
My dad talked about following the soldiers that stormed the beach at Normandy.
I'm sorry,
At Normandy, I think
Yes.
he was 2 days behind the storming
Yes.
with mail, because it was considered that important for the morale of the soldiers that they better get their mail just as soon as it was safely possible.
You betcha. As soon as possible, they would get it up to them. They were. It was their job. The official. I'm done with it now. I've lost my hat. Anyways, on the hat it says, the badge says "Service to the Army." That's their motto. It's in Latin, but service to the Army. Get that mail out there. They need that information, whether it be military, and that wasn't always the case, but personal information. I mean, if one of you out there got a granddaughter having a baby, you want to know about it as soon as possible. So that's what the mail would do. That mail would get out there and tell you what's going on. What's going on at home, that link. As I said, I was back east for 5 weeks. I missed what the hell was going on in Westman. I really did. How are the crops doing? How's the fire situation? I just I wasn't able to pick up any other news sources. It's that link. And like I say, letters are a better link. I'm not a better link, but I mean, Mom, Dad, Grandpa sat down and wrote this with their own hands. And maybe they kissed it or dumped perfume all over it. I don't know. But it's from them. I'm sorry, Deborah. It's from them, and it's important to me. It's important to me, emails, I don't know if I can warm up to those, but to have a letter. And how many of you sitting out here have a letter of some sort sitting at home in your bureau in the back of your closet that was the last letter or that special letter or that unique letter that you're still holding on to? You're still holding on to. Got a letter from my high school teacher when I graduated from university. He basically said, "I never thought you'd do it." I said, "Okay, thanks. Thanks a lot." But I still got it. He's long gone. He's long gone. But he sent me the letter saying, "Never thought you'd do it." And it's just special to me. So there.
Did the Postal Service also handle the Red Cross correspondence?
I didn't mention that to you, but yes, they would. The Red Cross should have had their own, but that was another important aspect. Red Cross, like I say, you saw this one here, there. Yes, they would use their facilities. There was a bit of an issue. The Red Cross was supposed to be neutral. They weren't. The people who were trying to help the prisoners were slipping things into the Red Cross stuff they weren't supposed to. One of the examples, I keep looking everywhere as I haven't found one yet. They would send them over 78 RPM records. I play a lot of those in my senior homes. I played the original music from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And what they did on records and on some board games, you could peel back the label. There were escape maps in there of Germany or France, wherever you were at. They weren't supposed to do that because they're supposed to be neutral. But be that as it may, they would come together. And by the way, on the other side, via the Red Cross, the Germans would let the POWs send letters home. Actually, it was a postcard, a pre-made postcard, which basically you could put your name, your rank, serial number, whatever, and what camp you're in, and then check, I'm well, I'm wounded, I'm lonely, I miss you, whatever, and just a number of checks, and that would be sent off by the Red Cross, and it would go back home. And those are very cherished also, if you have one of those, that from Germany to you, that Johnny or Mary are still okay. If we're in a POW camp. But Red Cross did a lot of good work, but like I say, the Allies did some funny things they weren't supposed to do, so there. But it was just an effort to be good to them. One other thing, just vaguely related to that about things you shouldn't do. While I was back east, I'd like to go to antique shops and thrift stores. And I went into this one thrift store, and it was an official military secret until the 60s. I don't have one here with me, no, but in fact, I don't even own one. The RCAF, you know, the boys with the brill cream, they had those big, beautiful brass buttons on their uniform. Beautiful buttons, all right? Official Secrets Act, one of the buttons, if you turned it not loosey-goosey, but the reverse, it was a small miniature compass inside. That was an official secret. I have twisted thousands of buttons. Haven't found one yet, but I keep twisting, saying one day I'll find one. But just some of the things they did behind the line. I know I've digressed from mail, but just things that happened during the war, you know. No, I've seen letters written from the camps. I was lucky enough to win a scholarship 40 years ago, to study in the camps at Auschwitz and Buchenau and so forth. And you see the letters, you see the artifacts. As a history teacher, basically what I've tried to do all my life is to make history come alive. And I'll give you the best example. I hope this clicks with you. And I'll shut up in a moment, and there, I promise. I used to do military shows and tell people about military history if they're interested. I had this one young fellow come up, and he told me about his great-grandfather had won the Victoria Cross. Okay, his great-grandfather had won the Victoria Cross at Little Bighorn. Right. You had to tell, son, no, that couldn't have happened. There were no Victoria Crosses at Little Bighorn. You know, but that's the kind of misinformation that's out there. You know, and you try to straighten it up. You try to be gentle. But, you know, some of them just kind of get their facts mixed up about the Germans and this and about the camps or whatever. You know, you know, every German soldier was a Nazi. No, that's not true. Many of them were not Nazis and so forth. But you try to educate them. But there is a grade 12 history course. I know in the Manitoba curriculum, I taught the grade 11 history course. The grade 12 history course, in my 30 years of teaching, I have never met a single student who took it. No one would ever take it. It was a good course. I know the first chance they had to drop history after they had the grade 11 history marker, that's it, we're moving on. But you got to know your history. You've got to know your history so you don't repeat the same stupid mistakes again. I try to bring it down to a real low analogy to some people. So remember when you're a little kid, you put your hand on the hot stove? Yeah, right. That's history. You're not going to do that again, are you? No, right. That's history. You know, try to get the message across them. But some people never learn. I'm going to shut up if you've got no more questions, because the lady outside wants to go home, and I'm sure, and lock up the museum and put away the artifacts. What time is it, by the way?
It's
Just
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
Yeah.
3 o'clock. Well, I guess it's time for me to shut up. So again, thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
And you can look through my treasures, trinkets, and trash. Thank you, sir.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you very much. All right, drive safe. I don't know, I hope it's not raining. Yeah.
Said they didn't want to get things mixed up, so.
Well,
This is
yeah, well, I've got to do that, but
This
no,
is from the first one.
it'll be a while before I get around to doing this. I've got another one next week I have to do in Wawota, Saskatchewan. And it's about, it's called 7 Years a Soldier. It's a story of a young man who graduates from a high school in Brandon in 1938, and how he joins a militia and how he ends overseas as a soldier and ends up at the end of the war, years later, becoming a history teacher. It's just the whole story, going across the Atlantic in the convoy, being trained at Shiloh, the long train ride across the country in those hard wooden benches, and what it was like. Try to make history come alive, and like I say, if you put on the costume, it kind of helps a bit too. You know, wool uniform. Well, how could you wear that? I wore that wool uniform, but no, you get used to it. It's not that bad. You get used to it. You know. All right, just get me out or what?
Well, no, I'm here to thank you for coming and presenting Mail from Home to us. It was very informative and enjoyable to hear you. I couldn't see everything that you were showing everybody, but
Good.
I loved listening to you. And
All
I
right.
want to thank everybody for coming and hearing Ed speak.
Okay.
And remind them that Wish You Were Here, our postcard exhibit about scenic Brandon postcards is upstairs for everybody to take a gander through and enjoy some local history and Mail from Home.
Exactly.
stuff.
Exactly.